Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dodaro, I'd like to ask you a question that is, I'm sure, perplexed members of this committee and certainly the public. It has to do with very large, sometimes huge contractors whose abuses or poor performance is so severe that they are brought before this committee or there are headlines on them. And I want to know, I want to describe the response of federal agencies in awarding them contracts again. For example, if you did the functional equivalent of what some of these contractors have done as a employee, you'd be out the door and nobody would ever hire you again in the field, it would seem. But let me give you a couple of examples. KBR, doing work in Iraq for the Department of Defense, is so faulty on the maintenance of electrical equipment that deaths resulted, including dozens of deaths of American soldiers. But DOD then awards KBR a $2.8 billion contract to provide support services, additional support services for our troops in Iraq. Or let's take the most notorious, perhaps, Blackwater and private security, because that's been a headliner. They'll have major the State Department, after those headlines, awarded them contracts for protective services in Afghanistan. Now, these people were seen as having themselves committed, perhaps, or at least accused of committing what would amount to, in prosecution, crimes while they are doing their work. Does DOD and in the case of Blackwater give contracts again to such companies because of the difficulty of startup? Is it too wasteful? This is, after all, a competitive process.